Hi everyone, and I'm doing something today I haven't done in weeks, a Star Wars video. So, yeah, as I said, I rotate now between the weeks from Star Wars to superhero-based videos, just so I can have more things to talk about and be able to talk about them, have more things down the line, a lot more things down the line to talk about without running out of things too quickly to talk about, not including any information that may be popping up. I'm not going to be talking about the reshoots right now for, Rogue One, because movies go through reshoots all the time. But I am talking about is spin-off movies. Now, we know for a fact that Rogue One is the first in the spin-off movies. It's part of a Star Wars story. It was anthology series. I liked anthology series better. Star Wars Anthology or something like that. That's what it used to be called. But then they changed it to Star Wars Story. Whatever. It's still going to be a cool movie, I'm certain. But we also know we're getting the young Han Solo movie after Episode 8. So we know the way they're spacing it. It's an episode movie, one of the main movies that is spin-off, main movie spin-off, so forth, so on. But the question is, those are the only two we know of right now. And I have my list of the things I wrote down here. What other spin-offs can we possibly expect to see coming in the future? Well, the ones that have been legitimately talked about are the following. An Obi-Wan, either spin-off or trilogy. I'd say spin-off. Boba Fett, Yoda. Those are the three that have legitimately circled the pipeline in the offices, things along those lines. Now, there are a couple others that I wouldn't mind seeing, but we'll start with those first. Let's just go down the list. Obi-Wan. Let's talk about the likelihoods, whether they'd be good, what you can do with them, and what would be good. Well, Obi-Wan, we know for a fact Ewan McGregor really wants to actually come back and play Obi-Wan. He enjoys that character very much. He was one of the few shining features in the prequel trilogy. He was one of the few really good things about those movies. So the fact that he wants, the fact that there actually have been talks about it, means that this one might actually happen. But the question is, where do you put that in the line of, hey, where is this going in the series? Well, luckily, the Obi-Wan spin-off comics is a thing. Basically, one of the ideas I've always heard pitched is his adventures on Tatooine between Episode 4 and Episode 3, where he couldn't use the Force very much because it would alert the Empire to his existence and his presence. So he had to really become one with the Force, like the living Force, instead of just using his own Force abilities. And it was almost like a Wild West Obi-Wan a little bit. He was on his own, rugged, still using his lightsaber, his physical abilities, but also solving things with minor Force abilities, things like. It was a really cool series. I didn't get a chance to read it, but from things I saw about it, it was a really cool story. And there's stories that could be told in that time period with him. Now, we don't know what happens to Darth Maul and Rebels. We'll find out more about him in Season 3, what his overall fate is in Rebels, because this is supposedly the last season for Rebels, so leading into Rogue One, I assume. Or leading kind of into that area. Point being, I've heard some people say, well, he never did say he hates Obi-Wan. He never did sell the score with Obi-Wan. So maybe he could be the final villain. Have him show back up again in the live-action movie, which I would be perfectly fine with. He was great in the first movie. I thought he was utilized well up until the end where they killed him off. And then though I haven't watched really any of the Clone Wars, at least not whole episodes. I've watched segments of episodes, like Clone Wars. A lot of the Darth Maul stuff I've actually watched, and he's good in the Clone Wars series. He is, and when he showed back up in Rebels, he was good in Rebels also. So I do think that he could be utilized well. Plus, I like that. What was it? The Apprentice, that fan-made film with Darth Maul. The guy that was a really good fan-made film. I mean, it was a lot of just action pieces, but they were all portraying themselves really well. And the guy who was playing Darth Maul, it wasn't Ray Parker, it was someone else. He did a fine job. So I think an Obi-Wan movie stands actually a good shot, especially with Ewan McGregor coming back. I think a lot of people would be into that. Boba Fett. Boba Fett is another one that a lot of people maybe want to see. But the thing about Boba Fett, and don't get me wrong, I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be a really cool thing to see. I would think I'd prefer to see, like a lot of other people would see, is an actual series, like a Netflix or HBO series. Like they were talking, like I did a movie news at one point where they were talking about doing Merc City, which was a spinoff from the Riddick series, where the Mercs was just focused on the Mercs. You could do something similar to that with Boba Fett. It's like the Boba Fett series. Well, you could say Star Wars Merc City, whatever, something like that, and have Boba Fett like one of the focal points of that series. One of the issues, though, is that Boba Fett's kind of like the man with no name, or kind of like Dredd. First off, you never really see his face. I mean, we know what he basically looks like. He looks like Jango Fett, just aged a bit more at this point. And he doesn't talk a great deal. Now, that's just because I think that's because they wanted to give that character to kind of air mystique in the original trilogy. But the point remains is that he does not talk a lot. So it's kind of hard to get a character to emote well when he's behind a mask. With Dredd, you at least get to see his mouth. So you can at least see emotion through his mouth. And it's not impossible to emote. I should make this clear. It's not impossible to emote from nothing but a mask with no visuals. You can actually get emotion across if you're a good enough actor, if the writing's good, if the directing's good. Or that goes without saying. If it lends itself to that character. But it's not easy to do. You need the right actor. You need the right director. You need the right script. And it's one of those things that while it'd be cool, I think and that being said, if you want my opinion of the three most likely, Boba Fett does sound like the most likely of them just because he's a bankable character to do that upon. But he's also, I think, the trickiest one to do. And then the Yoda one, like a prequel Yoda, like Yoda in his younger days. While it would be interesting to watch, that is one I don't care about. To me, Yoda is the grand old master. We don't need to see him kicking ass as a youth. We don't. We don't need to see him building his first lightsaber. Which, by the way, I have no issue with the fact that Yoda has a lightsaber. He's a Jedi. All Jedi had a lightsaber. All Sith had a lightsaber. Some focused more on the Force, some didn't. But they all had lightsabers. Get over that fact, any of you fans who gripe about that. Anyway. But to me, he's the Grand Master. He's the wise old master. That he's been around for so long, I don't need to know all the stuff he's done in his life. He's done so much that I don't need to know about it. He's probably met Maz Kanata. See, the only reason that would be kind of interesting is to have him meet Maz Kanata, who is older than Yoda. Figure that out. There's species that live much longer than Yoda. Yoda lived to be about 900 years old. That's like real old age for his species. So mean middle age is about 450. Wookiees live long lives too. Chewbacca's like over 300 years old, but he's like middle age for a Wookiee. Wookiees can live like 400 to 500 years. But even Yoda's just like, oh shit, that shit's not cool. What shit you think you are? I the real OG. Oh, he's got one of those. Yeah, he's only got the 3 stubs. Real OG. Anyway, so those are the ones that I think are the most likely because they've literally been in talks. But then you get into a couple other ones. Now, there are books that detail some of the events going on between this time period, but one of the ideas is a movie set between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. Now, like I said, there are books that take place within this time frame. We haven't seen the whole time frame. We don't know what Luke's been doing, what's been going on at that time period. I think we're going to get some flashbacks in Episode 8, what happened during that time frame. But I don't see that happening because of what I just said, because there are books about that. If there are books about that, and you're going to try to tell a story in between there, but some of the characters that lead up to that, then it's going to be hard to avoid, as some people said, multiple layers of canon. That was the problem with the original trilogy, is that there was multiple layers, or original trilogy. After Return of the Jedi, the original novels and source material, there was multiple layers of canon, basically, that kind of contradicted each other. That's why more or less the canon had to be rebooted. I have people who did when I talked about that and talked about how I agreed with that the rebooting of the canon. I had some people comment on that video that they were not happy with it and that they thought it was a bad move. And it's your opinion. Just don't be one of those blind fanboys or fangirls who is petitioning to have them change the canon back and all that. Like, don't do that. Hello, Domino. Yes, hello. 1 second. Oh, pick up. What? 1 second. Come on. You ready? You ready? Ah. Go get it. Silly puppy. Anyway, but she loves life, and that's the beauty. That's the fun part. She just takes things into the same spot every time, and just chews on it for a little bit, and then comes back and gets more. Like she's trying to steal this stuff. This wood's not for you, Domino. Anyway, no, I'm one of the main people who does agree with the fact that there was so much convolutedness and the fact that there was multiple layers of things that happened that it was just starting to contradict each other. That you had to reboot it to some degree, and they pretty much just said we're going to wash it. It makes great stuff, and we'll cherry pick things from it, and they've clearly done so. So it's not like that stuff can't become canon again. It's just that if that were all canon, you're trying to tell new stories, and you obviously can't tell the same stories because the actors are far too old. You could recast them, but with the actors still alive, wanting to do more Star Wars and all that, and there's people walking up the street with a dog. It just seemed like a disservice instead of just telling a brand new story. And let's be clear, just because a lot of, and I know I'm going on a tangent, but just because a lot of fans really did dig the original those novels, doesn't mean everyone did, and that doesn't mean those would translate well into a movie. There is a difference between a book and a movie. There's a difference in adaptation. You have to know when to adapt something, when not to. So, yeah. Anyway, though, that's actually the reason I don't think that you'd be able to work with a movie between Episode 6 and Episode 7, unless it's a story that has yet to be told in that time frame in the book series. If the books or comics have not covered that time period yet, or covered that story yet in the time period, then you can get away with it. Problem is, after that, though, then that movie becomes canon, and then you're like, okay, now we got to write a book about it. But that being said, they're in a lot of talks usually in the studio too, and I don't know why I do that. Isayo, no, yeah. But they're usually conversing. Dude, Domino, stop it. I scratch your butt to make you stop. Yes. They're usually conversing with each other to make sure they don't tread each other's toes. Last one I'll touch upon because yes, there's dust on here. It makes you cough, doesn't it? Don't want to do that, do you? Then just like, crap. Anyway, last one I'll touch on is, now this is the one that could pretty much work because it's so far. It's the Old Republic series. Any of the Old Republic games aren't canon anymore. Anything that comes out now is canon. I think they did relaunch the Old Republic on like a new platform, stuff like that, PC, all that wonderful stuff. I haven't played it yet, but are you okay, puppy? Anyway, if you're coughing a little bit, it's because she probably just swallowed a little something she didn't like. Probably nothing harmful, but nothing she liked. Anywho, so because the Old Republic takes place so far back in the past, thousands of years even before the first Star Wars Episode 1, it doesn't tread on any canon toes. You could easily do that. You can do that no problem. And beauty of that is, in the past, we can see fan favorites like Revan, Darth Bane, Darth Nihilus. We could even see Plagueis and young Sidious. That would be cool. I mean, they're not in the Old Republic. They're much, much later than the Old Republic. But you could... Plagueis has been around for a while because he cheats death and extends his lifespan. So you could work it in a way that Plagueis is around. And we actually see Plagueis. That, I think, would be really cool to see. And again, it does not tread on canon toes. It's something that I think you could do an Old Republic trilogy. Now, granted, it's technically a prequel film, so we eventually know where it's going to end up. So it might suffer the same stigma as other prequel films do. The problem with the Star Wars prequels is not that they are prequels. It's not that we know where it's going to end. It's that it just wasn't done in a good way. It wasn't done well. So, yeah. But those are the ones right now that I think could... Those are the big five right now that I think could happen in terms of Star Wars prequel spin-off movies. I think the most likely ones right now stand as Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, and honestly, Old Republic. Actually, I think those are the three that stand the most likely chance. I think of those two, though, Boba Fett and Obi-Wan are the most likely because the standalone films, the spin-off films, seem to be either revolved around an event, again, the Old Republic Wars, things along those lines, or a character. So, and if I were to guess, and that's all I'm doing, I think the next spin-off film will actually be based on an event, because right now we got a moment in history, I said, because we got a moment in history with Rogue One, not a character standalone film. Then we have Han Solo's character standalone film. So I guess it would make sense to then do another moment in Star Wars history kind of based film, but who knows? We'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. I got 2 Pokemon videos to do today, and then I got to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles later tonight. So thanks for watching. See you next time.